Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Welcome back to the channel. So continuing our batch of clutch videos here today, we are going to be breaking down Neil Fallon's voice, and I'm going to show you guys how he sings and how you can maybe incorporate his technique into your vocals and understand how it all works. So we're going to be going through a few different eras of clutch here with different songs to kind of demonstrate how his technique has changed and the different types of techniques he's used throughout his career. First thing, we're going to do some fundamental housekeeping here, just a couple of technique things to keep in mind to help you be able to do this a little bit better. Of course, we're talking about primarily compression, which is a thing that most singers use. Now, Neil Fallon does it quite a bit on his vocals, so you have to be aware of that, which is, remember, we push a little bit, we tighten up our lower abdomen and all that, and the muscles below that a little bit. Colloquially, your pooping muscles are kind of the main thing you want there for your compression and support. And it'll take a note from being just kind of like this, blah, to being more like this, blah. There's that difference. You get a little bit of that air and that aggressive sound with it and good support. And the other thing we've got to talk about is fry technique and false chord technique, because this does come up with Neil Fallon singing quite a bit. Early on, he does a lot of fry, so it's a lot of this sound. So you want to practice that kind of sound there. Just kind of try to make noise with your mouth without using air too much, and you'll get that kind of sound. So do that, and then when you put more into it, you get more like this. So that kind of sound is something that we're going to be looking at a little bit, mostly on the early stuff. And then false chord, it's a little bit different thing. It's similar to fry, but you're in a different part of your throat. It's the stuff that's beneath your vocal cords. We call the false folds, and they give you something more like this. Oh. So you can kind of hear that more like that. It's a very similar thing. Oh. The best way to figure it out is to make an oh sound and do it, and you'll feel it vibrating down there a little bit more. That's how Neil gets his aggression on some of his higher notes. If you do something like that, oh! So he does that kind of stuff a little bit, you know, by using his false chords to cheat his range a little. All right, so let's jump into our first song here. It's going to be their first single they ever did. It's going to be a Shogun named Marcus, and we're going to talk about his technique here. Let's listen to a little bit of it first. So you guys can hear what's going on there. He's doing those kind of fried false chord sounds quite a bit on this song. He does that a lot in the early stuff. And we're going to break this down. The first thing to note about his technique here is it's quite breathy. There's a lot of air. And to be frank, it's not good technique. It gives you an interesting sound for this, but it is not how you want to do this consistently if you don't want to blow out your voice. You need to use less air and do more fry to really get it how you want it. So in contrast to that breathy sound, you want something that's a little bit more like this. If you thought it was boring, Jordan, then come out here for a day. Remember our fry that we talked about? If you thought it was boring in Jordan, then come out here for a day. And by the way, the name is Marcus. And if you like, you can call me Sensei. Well, the emperor's in the pigsty, and the geisha's in the shack. And you better believe I'll hold them there till the feds they pay me back. So do it like that with more fry instead, because that's healthier. You'll be able to do that longer. It won't be as hard on you. And then here we will jump closer to the end of the song here and hear how this sounds. So you can notice there he's getting more breathy with it, which makes this part extremely hard to do it the way he's doing it, and you will not be able to sustain it well. So you need to focus more on the fry. So if we go to fry here instead, what we're going to get is this kind of sound. So, baby, jambo, it's oregano if I got to. Baby, shampoo, it's oregano if I got to.
Be my blow up tempo. It's a oregano if I got to.
So there's that, which can actually give you a more aggressive sound if you want to. That's a healthier way to do it. So try doing it that way with more fry or false chord, and you'll get a better result that is a lot healthier. And it's also important to make a note about your diaphragm when you're doing false chord, which your diaphragm is, of course, also responsible for moving volume of air through you. And the way you would figure that out is just when you breathe out, just make a note of where you feel that being engaged with your voice and try to do that while you're doing false chord. You'll usually get better results if you're able to do that well. We're going to jump ahead a little bit here, a few years, to the Yeti here, and this is a good song for understanding Neil's false chord technique. And we're going to play the first verse here a little bit. So you can hear this is a little bit different. He's not doing that breathy, weird fried thing that he's doing. He's got a lot more of his natural voice in this, and he's doing a lot more false chord engagement here instead, which is a lot more comfortable at the range that he's singing this at. So what we're going to be focusing on is that fried sound, and you can practice that with just the first word on this, standing. Standing. So just do that different ways. Standing waist high and slow. And try to see if you can sneak in some of your natural voice in there just a little bit. So this first section would sound like this if you were doing it. Standing waist high and slow. What brought me here I do not know. Sky is filled with starry scenes of heroes and their greatest deeds. So remember, when you go to the in there where he's a little bit lower, you want to come out of that fry a little bit and really focus on that enunciation. Greatest deeds. And we can jump ahead here and hear how this sounds at range to the, so let's go to the chorus section here. Okay, and you can hear there, that's a higher range, so he's relying more on that fry to get up into that range there and keep it from sounding like there's too much head voice in it. And using your fry like that is a good way to make your higher notes sound a little bit thicker and avoid some of that head voice sound. We're not going to do the sections in between the lines there where he says, oh yes, time is of the essence, because that's really high and that's really difficult to do because you got to push pretty hard to get that up there. And it's not something I can do consistently with my disability, so we avoid that part a little bit because I don't want to sound like an idiot trying to attempt that. But let's do the main chorus lines here.
Hammer! Himalaya is my all-time stomping ground. Manitoba, better snows I've never found.
So there's that idea there. Make sure you're paying attention to your diaphragm here. That's going to help you get the fry at the higher notes like that. All right, his technique does not really change till Blast Tyrant, so we're going to jump ahead to there. We're going to go to the regulator real quick here and talk about this guy a little bit. This is a very different song, and you're going to hear how his technique has changed. Let's look at a little bit of the first verse.
Oh, I see that lantern trimmed low, burning in our home. And though I feel like crying, I swear tonight I'll cry no more.
So he's relying way more on the lower part of his range here. This is not an aggressive part, so we're not doing any fry or false chord here. We're just compressing a little bit and going really low into our voice here. And now if you want to do any clutch songs after this point, you really have to get good at that low part of your range. And the way to do that is we're obviously going to make O sounds because that's easier. We're going to go oh, and get it low like that. And just get down there. And you want to have more of this kind of sound when you're down here like this. Make it heavier. The way you do that is by dropping your larynx. Instead of having it up here, you would have it down here. So that's how you do that. Just make that sound and figure out how your larynx moves, and then you can start controlling it. And then we get compression, and then we get, oh, I see that lantern, and trim low burning in our home. And though I feel like crying, I swear tonight I'll cry no more. So you hear how that sounds. Let's go to the chorus though and hear how he handles that.
Dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulator, swinging pendulum. Dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulator, swinging pendulum.
Now you can hear that there. That is also compressed. It's a little bit more aggressive. You can hear a tiny bit of that fried sound from the false chord, but this is relying much more on his natural voice and his natural range and all that stuff. We're not being as aggressive in that sense. It's a much less aggressive version than what we were doing with the Yeti, and that would sound more like this if you were going to do that.
A dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulators, swinging pendulum. Dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulators, swinging pendulum.
So I do sing it a little bit differently because of how I flow between different parts of the range there, but you can hear the kind of that up and down where you go up in the range and you hear the false chord sneak in, you come back down and it goes out. That's a very important thing to remember. Okay, and there is one other little thing here that's different about what he does before, and it's something keeping that lowered posture we talked about earlier with the lowered larynx, but doing it with more range and compressing harder, and we'll see how that sounds right here.
Come with me and walk the longest mile. Come with me and walk the longest mile.
So you can hear that that's in that lower posture that we had with the verse, but a little bit higher range, and it's more aggressive. So it's something that sounds like this. Keep that lowered heavy sound, and then we're going to go up in our range and push a little harder.
Come with me and walk the longest mile. Come with me and walk the longest mile.
So we're doing that kind of thing there is what's going on. Let's keep going. And I should note before we move on, Robot Hive Exodus, he does sound a little bit different on that than he does on Blast Tyrant, even though they're very close together in their discography, but it's basically the same techniques. He's just a little more selective about when he's aggressive on that album than he is on Blast Tyrant. But anyway, here for the next part of Neil's technique, we're going to jump ahead to 50,000 Unstoppable Watts here, because from Beale Street to Oblivion through Earth Rocker, he's basically got the same technique. So this changes a little bit, and we're going to listen here to the little bit of the first verse of 50,000.
Airstreams tethered together like silver sleeping oxen. All the best locations are located on the margins, suited for telescoping the interstellar scene. It's a mean killer in the daylight, but that's life for you and me.
So you can hear with this, it's a much cleaner upper part of his range that he's using here. He's not frying a lot on this, which is different from where he was before, where if he went up into that higher range, he would be frying a lot more. Now this is a little bit different. This is a slightly compressed, higher range, clean sound, which has a little bit of grit on it you can hear, but it's not like that. It's mostly playing with the range here. And this will honestly probably be the most difficult thing with his technique we're going to look at, because getting the range up there without the assistance of the fry, it makes it a little bit harder if you're not used to it.
Our streams tethered together like silver sleeping oxen. All the best locations are located on the margins, suited for telescoping the interstellar scene. It's a mean killer in the daylight, but that's life for you and me.
For me, that is pretty tough to do. This is a difficult song. Once you figure out this range and get used to it, it's a lot easier to do it, but it might take you a few times going through it to really get comfortable with it. So that's not going to be my best take of that, but you get the idea with what's going on there. We were a lot cleaner. Now, later in the song, he gets a little bit more aggressive. So here, let's go to the chorus real quick. Okay, so you can hear there, he's getting more aggressive there on that, but it's the chorus, so we want to do that. See, this song's a lot more about playing around with the aggression and not using it all the time. And that's a big way that his technique changed later, is he wasn't aggressive all the time. He got way more dynamic with it. So with Anthrax here, feel free to get aggressive if you want to here. It's really fine because it sounds cool, but we're doing this kind of thing here because we're going to start with the aggression and then it's going to come down a little bit as we go through the line.
Anthrax, ham radio, land lick up. Anthrax, ham radio, land lick up.
So feel free to play with the range there too. He does that live. He likes to play with where the notes actually are. He'll change them around like that. And so anyway, after that, the next big kind of moment for the band was Psychic Warfare, although his technique does not change that much there. It's really just the same thing he did with 50,000 that we talked about, but it's just more aggressive and higher energy and relying more on his fry again, but it's a mixture of being more dynamic with it and using it. So it's a lot more evolved, and it's kind of a combination of all the things we talked about already. So, and my voice is getting really tired, and a lot of songs on Psychic Warfare are difficult to sing, and so my voice is kind of shot or dim, so I don't think I can demonstrate any of that. And then Book of Bad Decisions is kind of not that different. It's the same thing. It's like what we did before, going from like Blast Tyrant to the next era where he was aggressive to cleaner. It's like going from aggressive Psychic Warfare to a cleaner version of that. And the only difference is his voice just sounds a little bit more aged. So it's not really something that's worth discussing because it's not a change in technique. It's just a tonal change from his voice aging. So with that in mind, we will go to Slaughter Beach here, or Sunrise on Slaughter Beach is the full album name, right? And we're going to talk about this album because he does change his technique up a little bit here. Let's go to Mountain of Bone, which is going to give us the most aspects of his voice on this current album. So this is, his voice is a lot twangier and bluesy on this, but he's got a much more aged, gruff tone to his voice. Sort of what we talked about with the Regulator of making your tone heavier, but now he's got some of that natural gruffness from his age, which is a little bit hard to replicate, but you can get sort of there. But our thing here to think about is keeping our voice low but twangy. So you really get your teeth in here, get your face out of the way, blah. And then we're going to talk about it. It's a little bit compressed here, but it's not super aggressive. So you can hear a little bit of the fry on it, but not a whole lot.
To climb the mountain is no easy task, but it's so much harder coming down. All the torches of the party have all gone dark, and hungry mouths around.
You got to play with your mouth a lot to really go between that heavier sound and the twanginess. And you can hear my voice doesn't quite have the same weight as his does here, but that's because he's doing this when he's like 50 something or whatever. So and it's going to be way different, you know, since that's a 20+ year difference. And let's go to the next part here and talk about that.
There's no gold beneath the beast, just a mountain of bone. The wind and the rain are the Lord courtiers. A dynasty of one ascends to the throne.
So this is just a little bit harder. So we're not as focused on being heavy here, and we want to be a little bit more aggressive. We want to hear a little bit more of the false chord. So let me demonstrate that.
There's no gold beneath the beast, just a pile of bones. The wind and the rain are the Lord courtiers. A dynasty of one ascends to the throne.
So when you come out of that fry a little bit and you go down, really accentuate the twanginess and the more heavy sound that we talked about. Ow. You know, we talked about that earlier with dropped larynx. You're not dropping your larynx a whole lot here, though. This is keeping it up most of the time, but it's really just making it sound longer.
Beneath the beast.
So that you can hear that. And when we do mountain of bone,
Just a mountain of bone. Bone.
bone. So you can hear that twangy sound that we get from baring teeth here, the top teeth, and doing that kind of twangy sound. Ow. And that's an important technique to keep in mind here with this, especially with their later albums. He does it a lot more. So, you know, we're talking Earth Rocker to now. Well, so basically last 10 years. So let's go to a different part here where he gets a little bit more aggressive and hear how he handles aggression now.
Yet here I am still rolling, a 20-sided die. Am I chaotic evil? A lawfully good light.
So you can still hear the twang here, but it's more aggressive. So we're not getting as accurate of enunciation here. It's really about trying to get some of that false chord in here and get it aggressive, but we do still have some twang on the ends of some of these lines here. So let's do that real quick here. And this is going to be tough. Again, keep your diaphragm in mind here because we're going up on our range here and trying to keep the false chord.
Yet here I am still rolling, a 20-sided die. Llama, chaotic evil, unlawfully God aligned.
So very important to get that aligned super twangy.
Aligned, aligned.
You want that to get as twangy as possible there. Again, this is something that's going to take you a little bit of time, a few attempts to really get used to this kind of posture. That's how it is with most vocals. That's why we warm up usually first. So we're in a position where our voice is ready to do the thing. If it's not ready to do the thing, you're going to have to sit with it for a little bit. And also, this is the worst kind of thing to have to do when your voice is already tired. So if you're doing anything that's higher range like this, and it's a little bit difficult, you want to probably do it first if you're practicing. It's that am that is going to give you the most trouble because that's the highest note. And if you do it without the fry, you'll hear how high it really is.
Yet here I am still rolling.
So that's without anything. You can hear how difficult that is. And you got to really keep all that together.
Yet here I am still rolling.
So you might lose it just a little bit there.
Yet here I am still rolling.
I mean, if you were doing this for real as a live performance, you could sneak it in there. You could break a little bit and go to your head voice there instead of trying to hold it the whole time, if that's easier. So that's how he would probably do it anyway. So not a big deal, or he would just lower the note. I think, though, we have talked about pretty much everything we can talk about with Neil Fallon's voice and the different eras of Clutch and how his, technique has evolved to the point where it is now, where it's kind of incorporating everything together, including the more kind of dramatic, almost, operatic sound that the vocals on Sunrise and Slaughter Beach have. So that's kind of the full barometer of things that he does. Like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video looking at Neil's voice. Leave a comment down below if you'd like. As always, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when a new video is out on the channel. And with that, I'll see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.